Hello everyone, welcome back to my little nightly show where we talk about crypto and everything that's going on in the world of crypto and basic analysis as well on my perspectives of crypto. So today, no real trend for Bitcoin. It's been quite volatile. We actually had a dip up down to 85,700 today at around 9 a.m. But we quickly recovered from that, and we are where we are. 87,233 is the price of Bitcoin, down 0% today, 0.10%. Not a lot of movement. Things have been calm, right? We're still 87,000, same as we have been yesterday and probably the day before, right? A little bit of price fluctuations. Our highest point that we reached was still 88,700. So yeah, we're in between these two levels at the current moment, 85,700 and 88,700. $3,000 worth of volatility there. We did sort of break this downtrend, but we immediately found a good support and rejection of the drop based on the 200 exponential moving average that I have here, which I just realized is not thick enough. Now it is. So there you go. Not too bad. And yeah, we quickly came back up to the uptrend that we currently have. You only see that it's just the candlestick wicks, right? Not the actual open or close. That hasn't happened outside of the uptrend, right? So we're still technically in an uptrend. Possible adjustment would have to be made here, if I had to guess. But we are using this as a good support as well. 200 exponential moving average technical indicator helped serve as a dynamic support, right? That we can see here. The other real support that we would have would be the pivot area at 84,500 approximately. The current resistance that we're seeing is 88,000. That's where it's crucial to break out of. And we might be coming up to that pretty soon in the upcoming days. Why? Because we're approaching the end of the month of March. And then after that, we will be in April, of course. And April is expecting to bring some volatility due to Liberation Day, April 2nd. Donald Trump's tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, more tariffs, etc. will be going live on that day. Today, he already announced, not today, yesterday, some tariffs on automakers, which we'll also discuss some of that. But yeah, currently a little uneventful for Bitcoin, except for what happened this morning, which this morning we did get some economic data. I don't have any specific news on it, so I'll just pull up the exact data. It was the GDP growth rate. Previously, we were at a 3.1% growth, and we were expecting to drop, right, to a 2.3% growth. Why? Because, tariffs are expected to kind of slow down the economy, right? Not a lot of imports and people putting reciprocal tariffs, not a lot of exports kind of deal, right? It was a little better than that, so 2.4%. Now, what does this mean? If we check the CME Fed Watch group, let me pull up the information to see how these percentages have moved based off of the information. Well, it's practically stayed the same, right? I think it stayed the same. Can we check what it was before? I don't think... Yeah, it's practically the same, right? March 15. What am I looking for here? I don't even know how to read this chart. This chart I've never seen. But yeah, the percentage is still 87% chance that we're seeing no rate cut in the next meeting in May. We are expecting to see one rate cut in June, September, and December. 3 rate cuts in total this year, so that percentage kind of stayed there. The issue now being, of course, is that the Fed is likely not going to be too much in a rush to cut rates to stimulate the economy. Why? Because it's not going as bad as it was expected. We were expected to only have a growth rate of 2.3%, which is obviously less and is supposed to be bad, but we had an actual amount of 2.4%, meaning that we didn't go down as bad. The economy is still fine, still down, but, you know, not as bad as we expected, meaning, okay, we're in no hurry to cut these interest rates, right? And, you know, I'm assuming the market, they don't like to interpret information that way, but we're also waiting for more information to come out still. We're waiting for the core PCE price index, which measures inflation. What's going on there is that, well, it's at 0.3% month over month, right? And we're expecting to see that exact same amount again. Once again, if the inflation is higher, they will not be cutting rates, right? They should be hiking rates to control inflation. So best case scenario is we get 0.3% so that market doesn't go crazy. If it goes to 0.2%, that would be pretty good. That means there's not a lot of inflation, but I don't think that would be the case. I'm expecting 0.3% as well to stay exactly where it was previously and based off of what we are expecting as well. That, and also, I mean, if we have more inflation, then yeah, less chance of rate cuts. Market doesn't like that, and they dump. So we got a similar deal that happened today. Higher than expected data. It's good for the economy, sure. It strengthens the US dollar, which is, you know, anything that's against the US dollar, any stock, any asset, any cryptocurrency against USDT is going to drop because the US dollar gains value from that. 2.4% in this case, meaning the economy is better than expected, and US dollar rises, Bitcoin drops. That's what we saw drop at 8, 9 o'clock, right? But we quickly recovered from that because it's like, okay, that's just, who cares, right? We'll just go back up here to this uptrend. That's the explanation for the volatility of today. Because the market, that's what the market wants, right? They want to see rate cuts. Trump also says he hopes Fed Chair Powell lowers the interest rates. So, of course, he also has to keep a good eye on how the economy grows, on how inflation is playing into all this whole tariff situation, which we'll get into more detail. So he does have to be very cautious of that, Trump, to ensure that, you know, Jerome Powell will see what's going on and say, you know what, yeah, you guys deserve a rate cut, so we'll give it to you. We're expecting at least 3. Well, actually, it's at least 2, but the market's being a little too greedy, and they're saying, you know what, I could see us getting 3 rate cuts. This is a good possibility for that, if things play out as expected. Of course, it's still too far. We're still in March. We're projecting all this stuff until December of this year. There's even projections until next year, 2026, where we're expecting another 2 more rate cuts after. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but we'll see. If the economy still is good despite all these tariffs, then yeah, we'll be seeing some rate cuts. Rate cuts will help get the money flowing into the markets and play its part in pushing the rise of Bitcoin a little higher. We are still in a bull market. Bull cycle is still ongoing. So there's plenty of reasons to stay optimistic, right? We're no longer down here, so that's also a good thing. All right. Let's have a look at the other coins. Ethereum back under 2,000, unfortunately, with today's volatility. We are very close to getting a death cross. Once that cross does happen, we would be looking for shorts. Why would we be looking for shorts? Because the uptrend, it's considered a broken, in my opinion, at this point. I should stop saying at this point. But yeah, that, which we could get the death cross. It's going to take a couple more hours. If Ethereum does continue dropping, breaks this support, which I think it will, okay, then we'll get the death cross. We could start looking for shorts. This downtrend would be over the one that overpowers it. And yeah, like I said, this uptrend would be officially like absolutely broken. 2,000 level is also an important psychological zone. I moved it by accident, didn't I? No, I think it's always been at 2006. Whatever. Yeah, it's fine. I think I put that there on purpose. So yeah, this is a key level that we should be paying attention to. Break the support, you get a death cross, downtrend prevails, uptrend breaks. So we'd be looking for shorts for Ethereum all the way to see if we can reach this zone, 1,887 approximately. 1,860 to 1,187 I would say is key levels to pay attention to. If I draw Fibonacci from based off of the rally, small rally that fails, I'll talk more about that one too, the M2 money supply. Look at that. Fib coincides exactly on that first support of the pivot zones, 1,887. So that's going to be a key level that we're going to have to pay attention to. Next one, of course, is this one. It makes sense a couple times. Bounce. We could see that similar support happen at 1,828. From here on downwards, I don't think we will drop. We have the second support and a very longer term uptrend that if it disrespects that line and just keeps dropping, it's over for Ethereum. But there's still plenty of reasons to be bullish for Ethereum. I think, like I said, we will have a drop. How significant? Maybe here, worst case scenario, 1,887. We might see some slowdowns or some bounces even at 1,928 or 1,970. 1970 or 1978 approximately, this zone. So keep an eye out on that. Death cross, downtrend, uptrend breaks, support breaks. We're going to drop to around, hopefully, this level. If not, worst case scenario, this level. Actually, this would be the worst case scenario, or even worst case scenario would be down here. I don't know. I'm just saying worst case scenario for this area, because I don't think I could tolerate seeing Ethereum that low once again. But a drop, I am expecting it to happen. On all cryptocurrencies, it's going to affect everything, right? Bitcoin will also have its drop based off of what I'm seeing with the M2 money supply, and most altcoins will follow what Bitcoin does. Whether it's even more significant of a drop or not depends on the volatility of that altcoin. Ethereum is not that volatile, right? It does have some days where it depends on the fundamentals that it gets, right? It will spike up a lot, or, it actually has proven sometimes to just lose its value super quickly, very, very quickly. We've seen periods where it just drops like crazy, so don't underestimate Ethereum's drops. I do want to talk about Ethereum as well while I'm at it. We see historically that the best months for Ethereum since its inception appear to be April and May, right? There has been, of course, some occasions where it is red, but overall, it's had large percentage increases compared to the other months, and, hopefully in the green, especially following 3 consecutive red months, 4 actually, if you're including December 2024. Q1 of this year has just been not that great. So what's going to happen? It should likely increase again, which beginning of April, I would expect us to have already bottomed, right? April 1st, April 2nd. Why? Because we're also getting the tariff announcements, more tariff announcements from Trump, reciprocal tariffs. Who knows what's going to happen on that day? So we're expecting volatility, and I'm expecting it towards the downside because, based off of the small tariff announcements that we have always been getting, we do see a bit of a drop on that. So, wouldn't underestimate that as well. But like I said, yeah, after these 3 red months, April will start off low. So March is expected to end in the red. April will start low. We'll be at our lowest point. How much lower can you go? I don't think you can go much lower. So April, I'm expecting April to be a green month. Very green. May even more greener because that's when we actually start taking off. According to, if I can find it, the M2 money supply, right? May 1st to blast off, April 30, whatever you want to call it. Beginning of May is when we're expecting to see a good rally. April we will start at the bottom, I feel. Or maybe here. I don't think we're going to drop too hard. This has also been readjusted, by the way. It's offset of 108 days now. Used to be 107, I think I showed, and also the 70-day delay. But now he's changed it to 108. He explains why he changes it in a different post, but we're not going to get into that for now. But the main idea is April, possibly green, May as well. And, you know, even after that, June and July, possibly even August. I'll get into the more details of that in a second as well. And why are we going to expect a rise as well? I'll just read this part. The Fed is ending quantitative tightening, right? We're going to get quantitative easing, which means interest rate cuts. First one's expected to happen, like I said, in June, or did I say? Yeah, I said June, then September, then December, right? Every 3 months after that. So we can expect some volatility toward the upside, hopefully, from that. I didn't finish reading. Approval of Ethereum ETF staking, that's also major, right? That's the main talking point. Something that the people don't really like about Ethereum ETFs is that it doesn't have the staking. Staking means you could lock up your Ethereum to get some small compensation rewards for it. A small interest, it's like dividends, like I always say. So people are expecting to get that at least from Ethereum ETFs. Once that does get approved, you know, we can start seeing some inflow volume once again, hopefully. Rising global liquidity, stablecoin market cap, the M2 money supply that I just showed you, that other chart, that's what that means. We could see a good rally in Ethereum. I agree with that. And Ethereum will lead the way for the rest of the altcoins, evidently. So, yeah, Q1. This is just aggregated into compressed data, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 for Ethereum. We've dropped a good 38% so far in this first quarter. Second quarter, which will be April, May, June, I'm expecting that to be really green. So yeah, that'll be exciting. We'll see what happens. There's also, you know, a lot of whales accumulating a lot of Ethereum. 4 whale addresses just bought 15,933 Ethereum, which is worth $32 million. It's not a lot, but it's a decent amount. We do see whales accumulating at these prices. They probably know what they're doing. You should probably do the same. Not financial advice. But yeah, that's the goal. And if you're wondering why we don't see like that kind of stuff reflected in the price, there's OTC markets, right? You can buy it over the counter is what that means. Where, you know, other vendors would give you their Ethereum for that money in exchange so that you don't have to do it in the spot market. You don't have to go on an exchange and go here physically buy Ethereum, you know. You don't have to do that. You just buy it off somebody else who's selling it. And yeah, at whatever prices you can negotiate. That's how that works. Okay. Should I talk about this? I'll talk about it, yeah. I read what it says here, so the global M2 money supply, I feel like I'm bringing this up every day now, but it just makes so much sense. We've observed the offset appears to slowly, gradually shift as time moves on, so he's took a fresh look. Looks like the 108-day M2 offset looks the best in terms of mathematical correlation. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Both mathematical and visual correlation for recent time, with the recent time frames for the past 180 days. He sees that it's amazing how the Bitcoin price charts valleys and peaks continue to trace the M2 line. The M2 line is the yellow one. Bitcoin is the orange one. Even with the smaller movements inside this mini rally that fails box, right? This actually, like, it coincided pretty perfectly, right? We bottomed out at the same part. We topped out almost at this same part. We had a rally and we're currently over here. Couple more days until what? End of month? April 1st, April 2nd probably is this. We're going to see a drop. It just makes sense to me. Far right side of the chart, the M2 line appears to have taken a fairly steep correction. It's too early to jump conclusions. Oh, we're talking about this line over here. So I remember I told you guys, like, you know, this part over here did not exist. This little drop that you can see over here. But I don't think that's the end anyway. But it just seemed like M2 money supply was just going up and it wouldn't stop. And, you know, if Bitcoin will correlate with this, we're expecting to see Bitcoin above 120,000 easily by end of June, beginning of July, right? It seems like there's a bit of a correction. That's normal. I wouldn't be panicking for that if we do see a small correction in Bitcoin from there. And I mean, frankly, if we do get a correction, as long as we stay above 100K, that's for what? July, August, September, October. You already know what happens in November and December. It's going to pump like crazy, and I think that will be the cycle top. And that's what most people have predicted as well. Cycle top will be around November at maybe 200,000 Bitcoin. That could absolutely be the case, right? Unfortunately, we don't have enough M2 money supply data as far as November. We only have it until July because we have this offset set at 108 days. So from today forward 108 days, just to kind of get an idea of where Bitcoin is possibly heading. So yeah, that's too early to call it the top, this part over here. But it may be a future local top for Bitcoin. Yeah, that's true. Let's see what it does next. By the time we get there, we will have a lot more data. That's true. Once we get to this stage, you'll have another 108 days on top of that moving forward, and you'll be able to get a better idea. But for now, we have to, I guess, wait this full 108 days and, you know, wait for time to progress so that we can see what the next move in the M2 money supply is. Whatever the M2 money supply does, the global liquidity. That's a lot of time for new data. If the M2 line does continue to head down, then that could be the top of the Bitcoin bull run. I don't think so. 130K, that's too underwhelming. 180 to 220,000 is what I'm expecting. Keep in mind the M2 versus Bitcoin correlation is just one method of analyzing where we are in the bull run. Continue using other metrics, and we get closer to the top to make a more thorough analysis. But as I see it, the M2 offers a great macro look into liquidity. That's true. And I think it's a great tool to have in the analysis toolbox. I agree. Let's see if this mini rally that fails area on the chart plays out or not. If it does, then it validates the 108-day offset. I think it will. If Bitcoin decides to blast off immediately instead, then you would validate the 70-day offset, which is the 7-week offset that I showed you guys on a TradingView chart separately. I mean, that would be a good thing as well. We don't have to worry about a drop, and, you know, whatever this is over here, it's practically going to be pushed over here. It's just going to be slightly different, right? Like, these yellow lines will be, like, a little bit further back. But if that's the case, that means we're going to rally in April and May. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. We're observing the fascinating correlation with you guys. Remember, it's just one metric of many we can be looking at, and no metric is 100%. That's also important to disclose. But it's certainly fun to watch and seems to have some value. I just agree with this a lot. 108-day offset. This drop for beginning of April, it just makes sense. I don't know. And if you want to learn more, click on the suspicious link. That's all we have for that. Okay, well, there's your Bitcoin Ethereum rant. Let's have a look at Solana. It's a little bit green, 0.05%. Not a lot of volatility today, like I said. Only in the morning at 9 a.m. where everything had a little dump. But yeah, currently Solana, not in any specific trend. Did I enter a trade? I entered a trade in Sui. It was in Sui. We'll talk about Sui. And you can see as a take profit. Finally, right? $137 for Solana. No general trend. We're in between the two EMAs. So nothing much to do here. 0% movement, literally. It's so uneventful. Same thing with, well, XRP. XRP has formed its death cross already here. Meaning that we are in a downtrend. You can start looking for short positions possibly in XRP. We did have a low point at 222. 222 does seem like an important level, so that's where we do have our first support. That's how far we could possibly drop. 4% drop. I mean, XRP seems to be a little bit early in this whole drop situation. I kind of agree with it. You can ignore this line. It's not that relevant. Neither is this line. These are just what looking for resistances, right? Where we can stop rising, which it seems like the stop happened over here. Now we have to start looking for ways to where we can stop dropping. To do that, well, I'm gonna have to get rid of this. Please let me delete it. Confirm to remove locked drawings. Oh my gosh, what is this? I should have just clicked don't show again on the pop-up. Whatever. You take the lowest point. Well, this is the lowest point realistically. February 2nd. You guys know what happened February 2nd? Tariffs. What are we getting April 2nd? Tariffs. Ah, that's not what I meant to do, but you know. There we go. Is my magnet working? There. Oh, if I do that, then I would have to pay attention to this level. No, I don't think I'll use that line then. I'll use this top, but I'll use this recent bottom over here. So let me just adjust it. Ever since we have this uptrend, it just makes more sense to use this uptrend, which has already been broken, by the way. It's whatever. I'll delete that. And look exactly where that coincides. Well, we are where we are right now at this slowed down area, right? At the fib retracement of 232. And then 222 to 224 seems to be our next zone of where we can hopefully see a bounce. That's our support level. The next one is at over here, the second support from the pivots at $2.04. Lower than 189, I don't think we'll see. This has to remain in an uptrend, right? So if you realistically wanted to draw one, you'd do something like that. If I can get this millimetrically correct. There. Perfect. Yep, so that's what we're seeing for XRP at the moment. Looking for down movements. What are we looking like in the 5-minute chart? Okay. Yeah, it's already made its downswing. I'm going to have to wait for a correction first before we can enter another downswing where the 3 exponential moving averages will head downwards. I'm expecting price to do this right now, but then when we get another 3 EMA cross downwards like that where it fans toward the downside, that's where you would enter. So for now, we just gotta wait. Okay, next. I mean, it's down 1.47%, $2.33, which is what I said, and SUI. SUI is the position that we entered last night. Well, yesterday, not last night. I entered this at what? 3 o'clock p.m. I entered one before that as well, which immediately failed. But hey, look at what never give up means. You enter again, and boom, you hit a take profit there. SUI has been rising like on its own, just by itself, doing for no reason, seems like. I did try looking into why it rose. Couldn't find a real reason. Overall, 12% up. Currently today, though, it's 3.83%. It's holding good at 277. Interesting rally, and we're very much in an uptrend. I'm too scared, though, to re-enter in this uptrend based off of the state of every other coin. Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, I think as well. No trends for them. XRP is in a downtrend, confirmed in the 1-hour chart. SUI is in an uptrend, and I think it's got some fundamentals going on behind the scenes that's making the price pump. Maybe it's just whale accumulation. I tried checking on CoinMarketCap for SUI, and there was something, but it was old news. That's 2 days ago. It's not it. GameFi, they're involved in the gaming space. Institutional interest. Oh, and the Canary ETF. That's what it was. But there's nothing else, though, that could be pushing the price up. Nothing that I see, at least. Analysts predict SUI can hit $10 in 2025. It's not a bad target. I agree. Yeah, I mean, SUI is probably the best compared to... I want to watch what I'm going to say here. Solana, Ethereum, Cardano, XRP. It's better than all those. Better than Aptos. Better than Avalanche. Yeah, that's what I think at least. Yeah, so we're slowing down here at 277. Not much else to say for Sui. Good for it for rising. Litecoin 0% movement today. No trend for it either. $93, 20 cents, 21 cents. Yeah. Not a lot of movement for Litecoin either today. I was planning to enter long this morning, but it eventually just dropped back down, so decided not to enter it. And good thing I didn't, because it just continued staying down. Not that I could enter at this moment anyway. We're not in a trend at the moment, so we can't do anything. Cardano is at 74 cents, up 1.34%. Kind of sticking ourselves toward the uptrend area. And we do have just this stop over here at 77 cents. I don't see why. Based off of this drop, could be. Just trying to find price levels that would make sense. Right there. That's our lowest point, yes. Okay, so that's why we bounced here. This fib zone from a downtrend that we form over here. We're not looking for resistances anymore at the moment. Don't show again. Yes, remove it. And yeah, so that's why we're seeing this fluctuation in the price. Using supports from exponential moving averages, we are able to maintain ourselves afloat, but we are confronted with this first resistance and also a fib zone and then another resistance at 78. I'm not expecting too much volatility from Cardano. And if we do drop, we got this important level of an uptrend and support from the first pivot. And then the second, well, the first support after the pivot would be at 67 cents if we do see a drop. Depending on the significance of it, I'm hoping we don't break whatever this downtrend is. Sorry, the uptrend. Yeah, and worst case scenario, I mean, we've got this low point at 64 cents and second support. I don't think we're going to see a drop that severe, though. My estimation would be around here. I'm expecting the market to drop from here. That's all we have for these coins. I do want to talk about tariffs, as I mentioned. Jim Cramer is pro-Trump tariffs. He hates free trade. He thinks it's been an embarrassment for the country, cost us fortunes. Everybody picks on us. There's just no end to it. You know what Inverse Kramer will do, probably. But, I mean, hey, at least he's still a market analyst and kind of agrees with Trump tariffs. I'm pretty sure most market analysts, although we know it sucks short term, it will be good for the U.S. economy long term. Auto tariffs are here. President Trump's Liberation Day, it's going to include 25% tariffs on cars not made in the U.S. It's set to add up to $12,500, an increase in the price of the average new car sold but not made in the U.S. This is causing automakers to crash. General Motors, other European car companies, Japanese car companies, their stock prices fell today. The German stock index price, the German index, the DAX, it also dropped as well because they have in their composition automakers is what Germany mainly exports. So yeah, General Motors is also dropping. Here's the key details. The tariffs will impact both cars and car parts that are imported into the US. This means that assembling your car in the US is not enough. It has to be produced as well in the US, the auto parts, right? So there's no escaping that. It explains a lot of confusion around the Tesla part, which assembles 100% of their cars in the US, but Elon Musk clarified many of the parts in Tesla vehicles are not made in the US. In fact, 60 to 75% of Tesla parts are currently sourced from the US and Canada. This means that could it impact Tesla in a negative way as well? I forget what Tesla stock did today. Let me find out. It's, it's actually a little green. A little bit red, a little bit green. kind of in a mixed territory. I mean, they're still American based, right? But just some parts they would be importing from other places, it seems like, and those could cause some tariffs, is what the situation may be. And also like the average car though, it's adding $5,000 to $10,000 to the car prices due to the 25% auto tariffs. So what would companies do to avoid these tariffs is just move everything to the US and start building there. Gives Americans jobs, they avoid the 25% tariffs, vehicles will be cheaper, and the US dollar will strengthen. That's ultimately the goal, long term, which it makes sense. It could work out absolutely. US automakers also have declined on the news. Okay, so it's not just automakers from other countries, but yeah, like I said, if you import car parts from other places, those are going to have a tariff on them. So now we're going to have to require the people that create the auto parts to move to the US as well. So Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, Tesla, and other US automakers source and assemble car parts in Canada and Mexico. Therefore, even the US automakers will be materially impacted by the 25% tariffs, among other tariffs. It's going to have massive implications. For example, cars are the UK's biggest export to the US. That's going to affect them a lot. Nearly $10 billion per year. White House estimates that this will raise $100 billion of revenue for the US. But who's going to bear the cost? In fact, the tariffs are so large that it seems like posturing. However, a reporter asked Trump, "Are these auto tariffs permanent for the rest of your term?" He says, "Oh yeah, this is permanent, 100%. If that's true, the stock market is not pricing this in." They posted, that's just advertisement. Average new car price in the US is currently nearing $50,000. It means that the average new car not made in the US could see tariffs of up to $12,500. New vehicle sales will decline, and used car prices likely will rise. That'll be interesting. Luxury car companies are set to take a major hit. Companies like Ferrari, Lamborghini. For example, look at the Lamborghini Revuelto. It's used to cost $604,000. Now it's nearing $700,000. Once fully built, with 0% of their parts are assembly in the US. It means the buyers of new Lamborghini would pay an extra $175,000 in tariffs. Insane. And yeah, you get the point. US auto imports currently sits at roughly $275 billion, which is 0.9% of the US GDP, which makes the cost of these tariffs nearly 0.25% of the US GDP. Could cause extreme volatility. And yeah, there's not really any car that's 100% made in the US, all parts sourced domestically. So, you know, it's going to cause some companies to have to move over to the US that generate car parts and stuff like that, like General Motors, etc. Okay. Since Teslas are made in the USA is what I also speculated, they will likely not be as impacted. So I would have assumed Tesla could rise due to this, right? They're American based and people will just turn to buying Teslas, but don't forget, people hate Elon Musk, they hate Teslas. They're still scratching Tesla vehicles and rubbing their body parts on it. So, you know, it will really depend on what else Trump does with these tariffs. Tesla was included in a Trump donor portfolio launch on autopilot. The performance, Tesla has been plus 14% since Trump election, although it's been bumpy. Ford is down 4%, General Motors down 8%. Tesla still seems to be a little bit surviving in this environment. Egg prices at least have been dropping, if you haven't noticed. There you go. They've dropped more than 63% this month, largest monthly decline in history. That was a big problem. Apparently eggs were super expensive at one point. This was, I think, by the time Trump took office, right? It was really high. And, well, he's managed to reduce the price of it from $8 and something to $2.98, approximately. So, yeah, good for them. And this is just talking about the hyperliquid whale. Not the hyperliquid whale, but a hyperliquid whale causing hyperliquid to the list jelly that I mentioned yesterday. If you didn't know what happened, a trader deposited $7 million across 3 separate accounts on hyperliquid. They go long on Jelly Jelly, which is a small cap meme coin. on 2 of the accounts and shorts on the 3rd account through Hyperliquid. The other 2 where he went long was directly on the chain. He pumps the coin on chain, which was easy with low liquidity, right? Jelly was not that popular, so, you could just pump it easily. It leads to gains on the 2 long accounts and big losses for the short account. It makes sense. It's like you're risking one to make double. But yeah, that one is being canceled out, so you just made profit on the second one, the original one. So you would still profit from this situation. You withdraw the P&L from the long accounts. The short account enters a liquidation, but the size is too large for normal liquidation. It had to be handed over to the hyperliquidity provider vault in order to attempt an orderly liquidation. But it kept on pumping, especially by being listed on other exchanges like Binance, like OKX. Hyperliquid decides to override the Oracle price and close the short trade at its entry price. So they practically, I don't know what they did. They manipulated like the price instead of them being on like, it's technically not their fault, right? It was the trader that did this little exploit over here. And now Hyperliquid sees themselves with this big decline in the price. So what they do is they just say, you know what? The price is now the entry price. We're closing our position at 0 loss. And they just took out Jelly from Hyperliquid in general. So, hey, is it really a decentralized exchange at this point? They restricted the rest of the withdrawals on his long positions. They're also like, controlling what this person can withdraw, right? So, and then they shut down Jelly from being traded on Hyperliquid. There's more details of it over here. Hyperliquid exploit. He did this all within 5 minutes of each other. I'm going to try to summarize this. Leverage trades on illiquid coin, Jelly. Ended up losing money, almost down $1 million, unless Hyperliquid allows him to withdraw. So I don't think he actually made profit from this, did he? You see all this volatility spike right over here. This allowed him to build up leverage in order to attempt to drain funds from Hyperliquid. So he's technically stealing the funds from Hyperliquid by using this exploit, it seems like. When it increased, the 4 million position short swiftly entered liquidation, but the size was far too large to be liquidated normally because there wasn't enough liquidity provided by Hyperliquid. I'm using the word liquid a lot, I know. The exploiter was withdrawing collateral while having a 7-figure positive P&L to withdraw from, as the price of Jelly has pumped over 400%. The attacker's last withdrawal was 1243. Continued to attempt, but was unable to because his account got restricted. However, this account still has millions of dollars in unrealized profit and loss because Hyperliquid is still high, and it kept on pumping, right? It's now listed on Binance, listed on OKX, etc. Instead of withdrawing, the attacker started selling his Jelly position on the market. Okay. Hyperliquid eventually closed Jelly at the market so the guy couldn't sell anymore. At 0.0095, the price at which the third account had entered its short trades. Okay, because there was 3 entries, right? It zeroed out all the floating P&L on the first 2 exploiter accounts. In total, the exploiter deposited 7 million to 3 Hyperliquid accounts, withdrew 6 million, with a $900,000 balance on Hyperliquid across 2 accounts, which he's currently unable to withdraw. So it seems like he lost in this situation. Assuming he can withdraw this at some point in the future, his actions on Hyperliquid have cost him a total of $4,000. So he ended up losing $4,000. If he isn't able to, he faces the loss of almost $1 million if he can't take those funds back. Those are the 2 positions and the short position. And yeah, cool. Cool stuff going on Hyperliquid. Just stay with the centralized exchange. But remember, not your keys, not your coins as well. I don't know. Do what you want. What would I enter tonight? Oh, like I said, nothing. I'm expecting a drop. If we do rally, it's going to be very short-lived. We got a lot of wicks just breaking through, you know, what is supposed to be the uptrend, but it's just not working out. And also this right over here, I don't know if I could trust that. This kind of a breaking out of the uptrend, right? Breaking the uptrend a little bit. I don't like that. I feel like it's showing weakness and it's just ready to break out toward the downside at any moment. XRP is already ahead of the game. I could probably look for shorts on XRP because I'm willing to bet that it will continue dropping. What are we in the 5-minute chart? Did we rise yet? Oh, we actually did. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Let's see. I think it's on test. Because I changed the indicators, that's why I'm using a different file name. It's not like you guys care anyway. Yep, we're indeed in a downtrend. 5-minute trend is indeed up. Price is 233.45 indeed. Or 52. Cool. Now we're just waiting for the configuration to happen where all three exponential moving averages should be pointed towards the downside. I do have to write these trades down. I don't know if these trade or this trade. So let me pull that up. Okay, yeah, so I did have to write this last one down. Closed and ended up closing 327. March 27, what I mean. Entry price at 256, closed price at 273 for SUI. Profit of 132. And stop loss, not stop loss, funding fees and fees. Total of 179. We hit a take profit on this one. Cool. Our drawdown is 444. Can be recovered pretty easily in 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 more trades. You gotta stay optimistic for this. I know I'm on a big loss streak, but slowly making our way back up. Quickly, actually. If you hit a take profit, it's quick way back up. So it just got to be right 50% of the time, and it'll work out just fine. Well, you're supposed to be right only 33% of the time. That's the average success rate, at least of this strategy is. But it's worth it whenever you do hit a take profit. So yeah, that summarizes this. This will enter whenever it enters, and that'll be all for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, bye.